guys? Welcome back to another episode of DogeBag Poker Vlogs. Hold on, forgot to turn off the fan. Alright guys, welcome back. As you can see, I'm not at home, and that is because I'm in Vegas, but not necessarily to play poker. I'm actually here for Kawaii Rave, which I missed last year because I came too late. So we're making up for it this year, and obviously while I'm here, I want to play a little bit of poker in Vegas. Alright guys, here is the Airbnb. It has been a while since I stayed in a not hotel because those seem to have a monopoly on the Airbnb market, even though they're hotels. But we got just a nice one-bedroom apartment here, or condo. And if we look outside here, well, you can't see from this angle, but the Rio is just over there. So I will be playing a 5-10 session at Bellagio. The problem is I only have exactly $1,087.85 to my name. So that means I can only lose $1,070 if I want to buy a ticket to Kawaii Rave. So to play 5-10, I'm taking out a massive loan, which every young poker vlogger on YouTube seems to be doing or claiming they're doing nowadays. And I'm risking my entire bankroll on one session, which every young poker vlogger on YouTube also seems to be doing or claiming they're doing nowadays. So hopefully we can run it up and have a good session in Vegas over the weekend. My name is DogeBag, but I go by DogeBag, and I am a minimum wage poker player playing exclusively the lowest stakes poker games in SoCal and Vegas. Wish me luck. Oh, but DogeBag, you're in Vegas during the World Series of Poker and you're a content creator. You have to play the World Series. Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. Shut up. What are you doing? What the fuck are you doing? I have to go right now. I'm getting calls. I have to catch a flight. I'm on a tour. I'm trying to be fucking nice. You see I'm trying to be nice right now, right? You're forcing me to be bad.
I've been on my own for long enough. Maybe you can show me how to love, baby. I look around and since city's cold and empty, no one's around to judge me. I can't see clearly when you're gone. I said, ooh, I'm blinded by the lights. No, I can't sleep until I feel your touch. I said, ooh.
I know you guys like when I get straight into the poker, but I had to share this. As I was about to enter Bellagio, I turn around and I see my best friend Adrian, who I've known since kindergarten for almost 25 years now, and he just happened to be in Vegas on a spontaneous trip with his family, and he had no idea I was gonna be there. Fucking way!
Why do we always find you here?
My best friend since kindergarten happened to come here last night.
I saw you like 3 days ago.
I was like, you even walked like here.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, I love when you turned around and you're like, yeah.
Because I saw him first, I was like, he's familiar, and then I looked at you and you're like, here. I'm like,
I saw you and
dude, that's genuinely insane. I've been on several Vegas trips with Adrian, so it was really cool seeing him and his family just randomly. Alright guys, let's finally get to the poker. We are playing at Bellagio today. Unfortunately, the 5-10 and 2-5 tables were both full, so I had to sit down at the 1-3 while waiting. And I was in for like 300 or whatever it was, and up a decent amount, like several hundred, just by running really well. And then finally, after about an hour of play, I get called to the 5-10. I go up to the desk to let them know I'm ready, and as I get back to my 1-3 seat to rack up my chips, the dealer had already dealt a card to me, and I almost said you could just deal to the next person, but I decided I'm on the button, let's play one more hand of 1-3. And guess what, guys? I look down at 2 black queens, which is all a man can really ask for in life. There's an open from someone to my right. I 3-bet it up to $55, and the player to my left, who's in the small blind, goes into the tank pre-flop, which he had done earlier in the session before 4-betting, so everyone knows the 4-bet's coming, we just don't know when. The player in front of us knows it's going to take a while, so he wisely racks up his chips and leaves. While we're waiting, let's go over the reasons why this player might be tanking. 1, he got crushed at 5-10, and now he's getting revenge on them by making them wait as long as humanly possible for me to fill the seat. 2, he watches my poker vlogs and likes them so much that he wants to make them longer so that I can get more ad revenue. 3, he's doing his best impression of Ike Haxton at this year's World Series of Poker, where I tanked for like 6 minutes on the river with pocket threes. I can't think of many other reasons besides maybe this guy thinks tanking looks cool because people do it on live streams. So we'll just hum until this is over.
130.
And after an entire 60-second tank, we finally see the 4-bet that everyone knew was coming. Action folds around to me, and against a huge chunk of the player pool here, I would actually just snap fold pocket queens against a cold 4-bet, since usually it just means aces or kings. But this player was actually a trying player, definitely someone who plays for profit and is trying to learn the game. And since he has ace-king in his range, I definitely am going to call at least once here, especially for this sizing. So I make the call. We are going heads up to a flop in position. It comes down 10 high with no flush draw. Something in me is telling me that I'm just getting trapped here and that I'm up against aces or kings, but at the same time, can't really complain getting a board like this. So now I'm just waiting for my opponent to act once again, and after almost a 30-second tank, which is completely absurd on a board texture like this in a 4-bet pot, he finally makes his decision. I won't make you guys wait through it again, and he bets 65 here. Definitely a good sizing by him. These small bets in 4-bet pots are pretty useful because they kind of force a call from like queens or jacks. I'm going to have to call at least once here, so I make the call. We're headed to a turn card here, which is the 3 of spades. My opponent doesn't think too long before going all in for 215. Given that the pot was like 360 plus, I snap called in the moment, not feeling too good about it.
Oh, no.
I have queens.
Oh, no.
Well, last hand, I was like, oh, I got a premium last hand.
I was wondering.
And I was like, you guys aces, whatever.
Put it on the vlog. Make
Yeah.
sure it gets on the
It's a
vlog.
cooler, it's a cooler. Are you a vlog?
How much? Yeah.
2 215.
215. Nice hand.
Just lucky. Yeah. Cooler.
Very unfortunate to lose this way after picking up pocket queens from my last hand. We went from being up a couple hundred to being down $50 now. I also think calling in that spot, especially snap calling, is a huge blunder. His shove on the turn is pretty much just going to be aces kings and ace king of spades. His other combos of ace king probably just give up there, because if I was in that spot trying to get a hand like pocket queens or pocket jacks to fold, I would definitely not feel comfortable achieving that betting 215 into a pot of 370 or so. So I think I could have taken a bit of time and maybe gotten away there, but we're just going to move on now to the big boy tables. We head over to the 510 and buy in for $2,500. Pretty early in the session, I pick up ace king and end up getting it all in pre-flop. There's a bit of a sweat because we don't hit a pair, but my opponent also had ace king. So we end up chopping this one up. Pretty soon afterwards, I pick up pocket kings in early position, yet again another premium, and I open it up to $30 and get called by the button, small blind, and big blind. So we are going 4 ways to a flop, which comes down deuce 6 deuce with 2 clubs, which is a great flop considering we are 4 ways and almost any flop would look kind of scary even if it doesn't have an ace. The blinds check it over to me and I decide to put out a small bet here of $40. The player in the button calls. He's a recreational player who's playing pretty short stacked. And the small blind, who I think is a pro, check raises to $240. He's got a lot of money left behind, around $1,600, so we're both playing pretty deep. The big blind gets out of the way. I'm definitely not folding to a single raise here, given that I have pocket kings and my opponent could definitely have plenty of bluffs in his range. The small blind gets out of the way too, so we are going heads up to a turn card, and it brings the 7 of spades. I'm happy to see any turn card that isn't a club or an ace. The big blind keeps up the aggression though and bets 400 this time, just under 2/3 pot. And once again, I think folding kings is just too weak here. I decide to call once again.
7, new player coming in, 7. 9, new player coming in, 9.
The river comes an offsuit 9. So pretty safe run out overall. I think I'm only really losing here to like 10-8 of clubs and maybe like pocket 9s. A lot of players will raise those like overpairs on the flop that are kind of vulnerable since they don't want to really see any turn card, especially against 3 other players. So I could see him having that, but besides that, he doesn't really have much here for value. He also slows down this time and checks it over to me, and now I'm feeling pretty confident that my hand is good. My first thought is to check and just take the showdown value, which seems like the most reasonable option here. But I kind of thought about betting for a bit, thinking that since he's just so capped here and probably never plays a super strong hand this way on the river, maybe I could go for like a disrespectfully small size bet, like 200 or something like that, or maybe even less, just to get him to call with some like random pair that he could have. Maybe like 9-7 of clubs or something like that, that now has 2 pair, but I'm still beating, or just anything at all that can make some kind of crying call. But I eventually just think that checking can never be a huge mistake here, and I do, in fact, just check and take my showdown value.
DA, 10-20 no limit, DA.
So he ended up showing 7 something without a club. I didn't see the other card, but I imagine it was something like 7-8 with a backdoor or 7-5 with a backdoor, which I think is reasonable to call with given that there were other players in the hand and we were playing pretty deep. So if he hits a strong hand, he can make a lot of money. And I think this kind of confirms he's a pretty good player because recreational players will never look for bluffs like that on this kind of dry flop. Anyways, nice to win a decently sized pot with pocket kings here, and now we're officially up on the day. Later on, I take down a quick hand by 3-betting with queen jack offsuit. The pro from the last hand is one of the people who folded, and he notices me vlogging and says he's got to check the vlog to make sure I'm not 3-betting him light. And pretty soon afterwards, we get into another hand where I 3-bet light. In this next hand, we have 6-4 of diamonds in the big blind. The straddle is on, so we are playing 5-10-20, and action folds to the button, who is the same reg I've been talking about. He opens it up to $50, so that's a pretty small sizing, and I assume his range on the button is going to be very, very wide, even though he still has to also get through the straddler. So given that, once the small blind folds to me, I decide to 3-bet it here because my hand is one that can play pretty well multi-way with a lot of big stacks at the table, and I can very often just steal the pot here outright. So I make it $150, the straddler folds, and the button flats. So we are going to a flop heads up with just over 300 big blinds behind, so we've got an SPR of about 10-1. The flop comes down, jack, 7, ace with 3 diamonds. We flop a baby flush here. As the pre-flop 3-better out of position, I think betting small with my entire range seems fairly reasonable. We're going to put in some money. I make it $100. The button raises to $300, and given that I had seen this opponent raise against me with what I assume to be a backdoor straight draw on a dry board, I know that he's going to find some non-intuitive bluffs that even other good players won't necessarily find, so he's going to have a wider bluffing range in general. But this guy's a pro, and I don't want to scare him off. We are definitely just going to flat here. The turn card brings the 10 of clubs. Honestly, the only cards I wouldn't like seeing are another diamond and maybe a board pairing card. This is neither of them. I check to my opponent, and he ends up checking back. I think, looking back on this hand, leading might be a pretty good option here, because if he does have those maybe like pair plus flush draw type of hands, I think he's going to check back a lot of the time, since he realizes that my call on the flop has to be fairly strong and value heavy, and he may just assume that he can't really get enough of my range to fold on the turn. So maybe leading out here for value / protection would have been the play, since I do have just a very strong hand. In this situation, I just kind of fell into autopilot because he raised the flop, therefore I'm going to check to him on the turn. Anyways, we're going to a river card, and it is the 5 of diamonds, putting out 4 diamonds on the board. There's pretty much no reason to bet here. I just check it to him, hoping to get to showdown, and he bets like 250. I just snap fold.
I flopped it. Nice hand.
Alright, this next hand is the hand of the day. There's no straddle for this one. I'm on the button with king 9 suited, and I open it up to $30 once action folds to me. Only the big blind calls, and I imagine he's a pro, but I hadn't seen him play too many hands, so can't really be sure. The flop comes down 5 queen jack, 2 diamonds. We are playing in position. I've got really nothing except a gut shot here and an overcard that isn't super relevant even if I do hit a king. The big blind checks to me, and I want to bet a size that will cause him to raise when he has really strong hands and call with his weak stuff. So I make it $20, just about a third pot, and he does just call. The turn brings a 6 of hearts, which is a complete blank here. He checks to me again, and because he didn't raise on the flop after I bet a small amount, I can pretty much discount him from having any queen jack, pocket 5s. The strongest hand he's probably going to have here is some kind of like weak queen, like queen 10 or something, because he would probably 3-bet if he had ace queen or king queen pre-flop. So I kind of have the green light to just bet really large on turn and river and probably just get him to fold his entire range. I bet 140 here, which is a big overbet, and surprisingly, he does not fold or call. he actually check raises to 420. Nice. My immediate reaction to this raise was just that I don't believe him. I just imagine most even good pros are probably just going to auto raise on the flop with their super strong hands because they see a wet board. So with that in mind, I just think this player is full of shit. And my range is also just very uncapped here. I can have pocket queens played this way, pocket jacks, queen jack, even ace king that would call a raise anyways. And I think I can get him to fold on a lot of river cards. And I think he's just going to play very face up on the river. If a diamond comes, I'm not really even scared because I think he would raise with his strong jaws on the flop as well. So I can probably get him off his hand on any diamond river, maybe an ace river. Not really thinking too much about that, to be honest. I just didn't believe him, and I decide to actually just make the call here. We go to a river card, which is the ace of diamonds, which I think is a beautiful card to bluff on. And what makes it even better is that he quickly checks to me. If someone does something quickly, they're usually weak, whether it's a bet or a check. So with that, I have even more reason to continue a bluff here. I bet a size that I think will get him to fold pretty much his entire range, even if he does have some kind of random hand that has showdown value here, like ace 10 or something like that. I bet 650 here, and I expect to see a snap fold, but that's not what he does, and he actually looks like he's in a tough spot, which makes me wonder what he could possibly have here that is beating really anything I'm representing. Finally, after a little while, he makes his decision. He tosses in a calling chip. I'm just flabbergasted and wondering what he could possibly have that he calls with here.
You're good. Nice hand.
And he shows ace jack. So he rivers 2 pair after bluffing on the turn. And I was right on the turn. He didn't have anything super strong. And unfortunately, he kind of got there on the river. Obviously, I was behind the entire time. Honestly, I don't dislike my play in general. I think we just happened to run into the worst possible outcome here, which is him just hitting 2 pair, especially on a river card that I felt even more comfortable bluffing on. I probably would have just bet really big regardless, but let me know what you guys think. I think this was a little fun, exploitative kind of play that just didn't work out. And after this hand, there weren't really that many more interesting hands. I was pretty much card dead for the entire time, only winning a few small pots on the flop or pre-flop, and the table was starting to get tougher with more and more pros sitting down, and with tougher and more aggressive players at the table, I decided it's a good time to leave. At the 5-10 tables, I was in for a total of $26.50 and cashed out for $16.30, which makes for a $10.20 loss. Add that to my $50 loss from the 1-3, and that leaves us with a loss of $10.70 on the day.
Good luck, guys.
Thank you. Alright guys, and after losing $10.70 in my session and paying back the people who loaned me money, I have exactly $17.85, which is just enough money to buy a ticket to Kawaii Rave. Wow, what are the chances? There you have it guys, that was my Vegas trip. Really hope you enjoyed the hands, and I guess you could say this wasn't the best performance of the weekend. best performance of the weekend. I'm gonna kill myself.